If you step foot in Senegal, you will almost immediately feel the concept of Teranga, a Wolof word referring to warmth, welcoming, generosity, and community. This idea permeates almost all aspects of Senegalese culture, including its national team nickname, the Lions of Teranga. That spirit and culture will be on full display coming up at the World Cup in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico as the squad led by veterans in Sadio Mané, Kalidou Koulibaly, and Idrissa Gueye hope to tap into the nation's historical World Cup success and nab a few more World Cup wins for their country. Welcome to Kickback Soccer Media's World Cup Capsules, where you'll learn everything you need to know about all 48 of the national teams competing at the 2026 World Cup. From the history of the game, the nation's current World Cup trajectory, unsung heroes, and cultural moments. I, of course, am David Goss, and today we're talking about the Lions of Teranga. We have to start with the king of the Lions of Teranga, the leader of the Pride, the team's unquestioned star, Sadio Mané. A former Liverpool icon, he's known for his blazing speed, his slick dribbling, and of course, his clinical finishing skills. He is Senegal's all-time leading goal scorer, and he still has more to come. He passed that mark in November of 2025 and is regarded as one of the greatest African players of all time. He began his career with stints in France and Austria before moving to the Premier League, where he really made his name. First at Southampton, but his legacy was cemented with his 6-year run at Liverpool. The star winger won the Golden Boot in the Premier League back in 2018-19. He is two-time African Footballer of the Year. He's also just kind of a really great guy. He's known for his humility, generosity, kindness, smile, and he's an all-around legend to many fans around the world. The country that produced Sadio Mané learned the game from, of course, the French, their colonial rulers in the early 20th century. In 1960, when the country finally earned its independence, the Senegalese Football Federation was formed that same year, but it was a quiet start for Senegal. They had a smattering of appearances in the African Cup of Nations, including a historic fourth-place finish in 1965, but they did not appear in a World Cup until 2002. But boy, they arrived on the big stage with a bang. It was a legendary run in South Korea and Japan. In its very first World Cup game, which happened to be the opener of that World Cup, Senegal upset its former colonial rulers and reigning World Cup champs France 1-0. It was thanks to a goal from Bouba Diop. The result was seismic. From both an odds and global history perspective, it is considered one of the greatest World Cup upsets ever. Salif Diao, one of the starting central midfielders for Senegal that day, said, "All the gods were with us. Our first World Cup, our first game, and we drew France. The way things happened, we couldn't fail." If you know all the history that happened, it was an occasion for Africa and for Senegal to say, yes, we can beat the colonial powers. So of course, these two nations were deeply entwined. Senegal's 23-man squad, they all played their football in France, and many of them had been brought up in France. They could have played for France. They embraced the nickname, quote, the France B team. They would have supported France, many players said, had Senegal not been there. They went on to tie Denmark and Uruguay, good enough for second in the group and a place in the knockout rounds. They defeated Sweden in extra time. And then they lost in the quarterfinals to Turkey in extra time as well. So close to a spot in the semifinals. But something to understand, I did not skip over 42 years of history. This performance for Senegal in 2002 came out of nowhere. Senegal wasn't an African powerhouse. They weren't consistently winning or competing in AFCONs. It was their first World Cup, but their performance and the way they performed, full of that Teranga, captured and enraptured the attention of the world and influenced the current generation of Senegalese footballers going forward. The veterans on this squad, like Mané, like Idrissa Gueye, they were kids, they were early teens at the time. They were raised on that 2002 team. The rest of Senegal's World Cup history is not as illustrious. In 2018, they returned to the World Cup. They were the first country to ever be eliminated on the fair play rule. So they ended their group stage behind Colombia, tied with Japan on 4 points, and tied on goal differential and goals scored. They were knocked out because they had more yellow cards earned over the course of the tournament. In the 2022 World Cup, they were in the host Qatar's group, and they were able to qualify for the second round for the second time over Qatar and Ecuador, but they lost 3-0 to England in the round of 16. For qualifying for this competition, Senegal didn't leave anything to fair play when it came to 2026 World Cup qualifying. They dominated Group B in CAF. They went 7-0-3, never losing a game. Mané led the team, of course, with 5 goals. And in the middle of this, they went to England in June of 2025 and became the first African side to ever beat England, who at the time were the only UEFA team to qualify for the World Cup. And, England, they invented this sport. So it's a pretty big deal. With all the success they had on the field in qualifying, unfortunately, there was still massive drama. In October of last year, it was announced that head coach and Senegalese legend Aliou Cissé, who had been in charge of Senegal's national team for 10 years, would not have his contract renewed. A move that came as a shock to players, to the federation, and to fans. Cissé is an absolute icon for this country as a player and a manager. He was the captain of that 2002 World Cup squad and then became a manager after a 15-year playing career, mostly in France and England. As manager of Senegal, he led them to consecutive World Cup appearances for the first time ever, and he won the nation's first ever AFCON in 2021. During this time, they spent 4 years as Africa's top-ranked side. And underneath all of this, things were going well. They won the U17 and U20 AFCON championships. They won the CHAN, the tournament in Africa for only local players, which shows the next generation that was coming through in the excitement under Cissé. In his stead, Pape Thiaw has been appointed interim coach. He was Cissé's assistant for the last 3 years. He coached the B team at that Chan win in 2022, and he was Cissé's teammate at the 02 World Cup. The president of the federation, President Senghor, said, quote, "We said we'll do Aliou without Aliou. He's not here, but he's here. Every time you're on the bench, think that Aliou is with you." The choice to remove Aliou Cissé clearly was not with the president of the federation. It appears to have been a political maneuver by the Ministry of Youth and Sports Culture after he confirmed that Cissé failed to achieve the objectives in his contract. Reminder, this is a nation that had been to one World Cup. He qualified them for back-to-back. They'd never won an AFCON. He took them to 2 finals, winning one of them. It's hard to believe what the objectives in that contract were. We talked about Sadio Mané, the superstar for this nation, but there are some great young players coming through for Senegal. Many know Nicholas Jackson already, the 24-year-old Bayern Munich striker. He's on loan from Chelsea. He can be erratic, he can be shrieky, but when he's hot, he is unplayable. He hasn't seen as much time maybe as fans would like at Bayern, but this could be his tournament. Pape Sarr has started to break through at Tottenham as well, but the big name to know is Lamine Camara, a 21-year-old center mid at Monaco. He is the 2022 ACN Young Player of the Tourney. He's the 2023 AFCON U20 Player of the Tournament, both tournaments that he led his team to victory. He's a box-to-box dominant central midfielder with passing skills, and he is emerging as one of the elite free kick takers on the planet. Not everyone maybe is the biggest name globally, but an unsung hero for this Senegal nation is Henry Camara. The striker is third all-time in Senegal caps with 99. He is part of the side that upset France. He then went on to score the equalizer and golden goal versus Sweden at that 2002 World Cup and led them to the round of 16. played for 19 clubs across France, Switzerland, England, Scotland, and Greece in a 20-year career before he finally retired at the ripe old age of 41. The 2002 World Cup is not the only great moment in Senegalese football history. The 2021 AFCON final stands up there as well. This team took on Egypt as the teams played to a scoreless draw and advanced to penalties, where Sadio Mané slotted home the winning penalty kick. You could not have writ this any better. It was Mané versus his Liverpool teammate in Mo Salah for a chance to win the AFCON.
Sadio Mané to win the Africa Cup of Nations to give Senegal success. Mané! Senegal are African champions! Sadio Mané delivers!
The best day of my life. And of course, so far the best trophy of my life. And I can't express my feeling today. I'm very happy. I think this trophy is the first ever trophy of the history of Senegal. So the people cry everything about it because they've been waiting so long.
To celebrate this title, you have to believe the party was big. The 7th of February was declared a paid holiday by Macky Sall, the country's president. The decision was one example of just how important and ingrained this sport is in Senegalese culture. Quote, "It was beautiful. It was magical. When we got off the plane, we couldn't get out nor move because of all the Senegalese people outside. They were proud of us, but we were also proud of them. We said to ourselves that this must not end. Senegalese people deserve a trophy in every competition." That was Cheku Kouyaté, a Nottingham Forest and Senegalese central midfielder who was on that winning team. It was an 8-hour journey between the airport and the presidential palace when he and his teammates returned after that AFCON victory. We love to leave you with a couple of fun facts about every country that we do on our kickback capsules. Fadi Tooth, a small car-free island, is in Senegal where all houses and buildings are made entirely of clamshells. Another fun fact on the soccer field is that along with Norway, Senegal is one of 2 nations to have never lost against Brazil. They've won one and they've drawn one in their friendly matches. Looking forward to the 2026 World Cup. When you look at predictions and possibilities, there's enough talent in this group clearly to make it into a knockout round, and they could advance even further. The idea is probably that the round of 16 is the goal, but I mentioned it in the young player section. If Nicholas Jackson can get hot, if Sadio Mané can find a few dangerous chances, there is the composure, there is the experience, there is the talent and the belief and the Teranga to take this team all the way. Stay tuned for the rest of Kickback's World Cup capsules, and make sure to follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere you find your podcast.